There are over 300 signatures in Brawlhalla, so it's natural that some will get a lot of attention and some won't. So today we're going to look at 10, just 10 out of that 300 signatures that I feel like are a little underrated, underrepresented, maybe not really talked about, or overshadowed, overlooked, all those different words that you can use to describe the same thing. Sorry to interrupt, I always forget to say this, so if you enjoy the videos, consider checking if you're subbed, no big deal. If not, you know, it's free and it helps out a lot, so yeah, thanks. Sorry again. We're just going to be beating up a Ragnar bot today, and starting with Nyx, one of my favorite characters in the game, and I think her blaster's side sig could use a little more recognition. It's a quick two-piece, not extremely flashy, which might be why it doesn't get all the attention, you know, it's not like zooming through with some skeletons and going all, you know, crazy like. But it's still pretty good. Simple 2-hit, simple grounded killing option, you GC it still hits. The hitbox, although it looks small, it's actually placed extremely well. Like, okay, this may on first glance not look pretty big, but if you consider the placement, it's actually very, very good. It's well in front of Nyx, she floats up in the air, so it's a little bit difficult to punish. Like you saw me doing, you can GC it and still hit on the ground. And if nothing else, it has a good amount of killing power. You know, if you take away everything else, it's still pretty good. Because Nyx as a character, her archetype is low strength. She's the Grave Walker, the Grim Reaper, whatever you want to call her. She's got low strength, but she's hard to kill. She's kind of like a zombie. So for her to have a move like this, that, I mean, look at that strength. We're at, what is it, 150 here, which is clocking into the red, and it's just zooming across the map. Unlike the Scythe side sig, you don't need a sweet spot for this. It's always the sweet spot. So let's take a look at this Scythe side sig. We'll have Ragnar jump here, and this will have less force. You see that won't kill, but if we just have him stand, come back here, Ragnar, just to die, it will kill. But you know, you don't need that if it's just a two-piece blaster string. So I'm not saying it's better than the Scythe side sig. I think the Scythe side sig is also fantastic, but I mean, it's a great signature, and I think it needs some recognition. The Downstick kind of takes a lot of the glory away from it, and of course the chain, the iconic Nyx chain. So let's give this blaster side sig some love, and move on to the next one by doing that, I guess. That's the opposite of giving it love. That's giving it no attention. Alright, now it's interesting because Orion is kind of the poster child for a lot of signatures. You know, sig spam, whatever. Orion, these Orion sig spammers. But one sig that I never hear people talk about, and maybe I'm just in the wrong circles, I don't know. I mean, to be fair, this is all just my my perception or my perspective on what people talk about. It's all based on what I hear. So if these are wrong choices in your book, then it's not my fault. It's the people around me's fault. So, yeah. I take no responsibility, I take no blame. Anyway, this one is the Downstick. I really don't see people talking about it, maybe because it's underwhelming, I guess, force-wise. But in terms of spacing, in terms of control, in terms of how much utility this adds to Orion's kit, it's crazy. It's an extremely safe move. This hitbox is fantastic. You use it on the ledge like that, and they're just going to get hit. And you're not going to get hit because you're backing up a good amount. And you see how it extends pretty far out? It extends further the longer it goes, so even if someone thinks they're spaced outside of it at the start, they won't be towards the end. You know, again, these signatures, they get a lot of attention, this one, but I really don't see people talking about this Downstick, and as you start to get to higher and higher levels, using more of these big signatures like this one that has more active frames, if you don't land it, you're likely going to get punished. If you don't land this and someone's on the ground, you're likely going to get punished, or if you miss a read with this, you do this, and it misses like that, you're probably going to get punished. This move, even at higher level, if you space it correctly, you likely will not get punished at all, because it's just extremely safe. It's a very, very good signature, and for all that people complain about Orion, and they talk about all his sig spams, and his spear side sig, his spear down sig, his spear end sig, his lance moves, I really don't hear them talking about this lance down sig, so yeah, there's my second pick for an underrated signature in Brawlhalla. Not underrated because it's bad, underrated because it's overshadowed by the rest of Orion's. Let's go to another, I guess, poster child for a lot of signature use, and that's Azoth. We all know Azoth for this, we know Azoth for this, we know Azoth for this, we know Azoth for this. Just go, whee! But what about Azoth for this? It's a simple, super quick hit, but it's a very good signature. This move has been periodically buffed over and over again, I believe throughout 2019, and now that we're in 2020, Azoth hasn't had as much attention just for whatever reason, the meta shifting and everything like that, he wasn't necessarily in favor. But this signature is extremely good. It's a very, very quick move in terms of how you're able to react to it. I mean, you're really not able to react to this move at all, because in the time that he actually moves and you see the green, it's already almost out. Really, it's just extremely quick. It's had recovery frame reductions, again, all throughout 2019. Periodic buffs, I think there's a series of like 3 patches in a row where he just got buffed. So yeah, this Axe Ensig, if you're an Azoth player, I definitely recommend incorporating it into your play, because having a grounded kill option right in front of you, the only other one you have is Enlight. And everyone's going to be expecting an Enlight, and so you're adding to their mental stack more if you instead pull out one of these. It's kind of like Jalla's a little bit, but it's grounded. It's kind of like a mix between Jalla's and Bryn's, both of which are very good signatures. So yeah, definitely give this a whirl if you're an Azoth player. It's a very good sig. It kind of has a bit of a force field hitbox. I mean, if you actually take a look at the hitbox itself, it is ridiculous. It is crazy. That looks like a beta hitbox, and it hits fairly decently high. You GC it, it still hits on the ground. And then we'll take a look at the aerial hitbox of Ragnar jumping here as he comes back to the stage, and pretty good. Still pretty good. So yeah, this move very, very, very strong. Underrated for sure. I don't see anyone talking about Azoth Axe Ensig. Alright, let's move on to Sidra. And by the way, let me know if you like something like this, if you want to see more of them, because there's a lot of signatures in the game, and I'm sure I didn't include the one that you were thinking of. So let me know if you want me to include one of those and continue on. But anyway, let's do some Sidra. So Sidra, another character that gets talked a lot about for a couple signatures, and that's this one, the Cannon Ensig, because of this property where you can have 2 hitboxes out at once, and it's just a projectile. It's very safe, locks people in the corner. And then this one, because you can just recover from a mile away and just spike people and just never get punished, because it is actually insanely crazy. But they don't talk about this. And the reason why this tentacle I think is extremely good is because of this hitbox. I mean, just take a look at that hitbox. It's literally a suction move. Ragnar's gonna jump, and there is no chance that he escapes this. He is just doomed. It is huge. And part of, I think, the balancing of this move is that it does have a little bit of recovery time. When you use it, you're locked in for a little while. But the reason why it has that much recovery time is to compensate for how insane the hitbox is. Like, the way that they have to balance this move is that because this hitbox is so insanely huge and absurd, that they have to make it laggy. But that doesn't mean it's bad by any means. I mean, if you do it like right here on the ledge, someone's probably not going to punish it. But it catches jumps, it catches people very, very high. It's going to catch that. Super good move. I mean, if you're a Sidra main, you probably already know this. You probably already incorporate it into your play a lot. But yeah, out of the Sidra moves, I hear people talk about this all the time. I hear people talk about the cannonball all the time. But not this tentacle. And this tentacle is extremely good. It's also got a surprising amount of force for how huge the hitbox is. I just missed, by the way. You didn't see that. And you do step back a little bit. So you notice if I'm standing right here on the same like line as Ragnar, the same body size, if I use it, I back up a little bit and it actually still hits stacked. So it hits on the ground, it hits stacked. The only thing is when you use it, you do have to be aware. So I missed there because you actually do back up a little bit. So you have to be aware of that. But that just takes a little bit of experience, and then you got it down, and you got yourself a very good sig. All right, let's move on. Now this one, oh, I changed the other legend. Okay, we'll do a, what's up, Sidra? This one, now you might be thinking, oh, how is this underrated? How is this, how are you even picking this? Because I'm going to pick Mordex, right? And the thing is, right, when people say Mordex, they're like, oh, this move, oh, this move, oh, this move, oh, this move. But you know what, almost like, I don't know, I just feel like it doesn't get talked about a lot in terms of how good Mordex's kit is this Scythe Downstick. And it makes sense, right? Reversal signatures or step back signatures or whatever you want to call them. I mean, this one is both. This is a step back signature and a reversal because you can send backward and you can send forward. I call them step back. There's probably a better name for it, like maybe retreating signature. Oh, that's actually probably that sounds way better. Okay, I'm gonna call it that from now on. It's a retreating signature. Generally, with retreating signatures, you like to have it like the Azoth bow one, where you just go back and then you don't go back forward. If you step back, you want to create that space in between the other person. Generally, it's just safer that way. But the thing with Mordex is, it doesn't even matter, because this hitbox is just insanely huge. You pick up so far away, and you pick up super high and below as well, and you can send forward if you want. Like this signature, despite Mordex getting, what's the word, a lot of attention to say the very least. He's the most played character in the game. He has these mega signatures that just have like brute amount of force and, you know, brute amount of coverage. He never really gets talked about for his step back or his reversal, I feel like. And that's kind of a shame because I think it's one of the best in the entire game. I genuinely think this is one of the best reversal and retreating signatures in the game, because it's got the hitbox, it's got the speed, it's got, like, when you step back, the amount of time it takes for you to go back forward is very quick. Like, how far you actually move once you start moving forward again. So think about something like Sentinel's hammer downsig as a comparison point. The amount of time for you to step back and go forward is very different. It's a very different type of move, and you get locked in for longer. So it's just, coverage is lesser. The utility is lesser because it doesn't have the other option, and it's just a great sig. Great sig all around. Mordex players, I'm sure you know. If you're not a Mordex player, definitely look out for this move. You can use it off stage, you can GC it, you can use it to cover a bunch of dodges because of its coverage, because of how much hitboxing it has. This bot is just not recovering back to stage, which is kind of sad, but that's okay. Let's go over from the most played to the most iconic, which is Bodvar. Now, Bodvar, when people talk about hammer signatures, he kind of gets snuffed a little bit, I feel like, because everyone always says Cassidy lasso, and yeah, I would say that too, honestly. They say Thor has his sending Mjolnir out, you know, Yumiko has her orbs, but nobody talks about the original, you know, the original hammer, this boy. And so I was debating which move to include, whether it's the bear or whether it's the slam, and I thought, you know what, the bear, it's just the signature move of Bodvar. It's on the main menu screen. You see it all the time. So I'm instead going to pick the slam. And I feel like people don't really talk about the slam, maybe because its animation is fairly straightforward. It's fairly simple. It doesn't look all too flashy, but don't get me wrong, like, this move is insane. Damage-wise, crazy. Hitbox-wise, it's crazy. Angle-wise, it's crazy. Look at this. Look at this. This is so much coverage. It's actually insane coverage. And then when you slam, it also has additional underground coverage. I'm sure you've been hit by this off stage where you're like, how did this hit me through the wall? It hit you through the wall because of this underside hitbox right here. It's just an extremely good move. It's very difficult to react to the actual swing of it. If you have to react to this move, you're generally speaking, you're reacting to the first part where he rears the hammer back. But if you don't catch that in that fraction of a second that he does it, you're not going to react to this move, because in the time that it takes for him to swing the hammer, the hitbox is already out. So you have to react to him pulling back, otherwise you're likely not going to react to it. Let's see if I can get this. Yup, look at that coverage. Look where I'm standing and look how much force that had. It's crazy. It's crazy. Underrated signature for sure. I mean, at least in terms of the hammer kit. Maybe not in terms of Bodvar's kit, but in terms of the hammer, the hammer kits of Brawlhalla, certainly underrated. Certainly underrated. Lord of Rax is up next. Is it by V? It's definitely by V, right? Val, Vector, Volkov, Lord Rax. Yeah. So this move, I guess I'm Princess Bubblegum, but now this move, it's pretty quick. It's fairly simple. It's just a one hit with some distance on it, so it makes sense that I don't really see people talk about it all too much. And Lord Rax isn't one of the most played legends either, so it also makes sense that I don't hear a lot of chatter about this move right here. But yeah, this Blaster's downsig is very, very good. If you take, I mean, the animation on the crossover is a little bit different. But if you take a look at this coverage, this is like 3 to 4 bodies of distance. Maybe even 5, depending on where you're standing. It's crazy. It's actually insane. It's extremely safe. You can use it to GC someone trying to run away, like I just didn't, because I definitely didn't miss. It's just really, really good in teams, especially. Like, if one of your teammates is on the ledge right here, you can just cover as well with a good amount of distance. Because of the charge, you can wait for people to fall perfectly into it. It's just great. It's just great all around. It hits up, which is always nice, because blasters have more moves to juggle you up. You know, they got the nair, they got the recovery, they got the end light, which sends you up, they got the side light, which sends you up. Like, almost everything sends you up on Blaster's kit. So to have another move that sends up and get some distance, I mean, it doesn't have the most knockout power, partly because it's Lord Rax and partly because it has this much utility, this much distance, but it still kills when it needs to kill, and it still sets people up to be killed, even if it doesn't. Fantastic signature. I don't feel like it gets the recognition it deserves for how strong and absurdly good it actually is. Like, yeah, I think when people talk about Brax's guns, they definitely talk about his signatures, but I don't know, for how good this move is, like, this is probably one of the best gun sigs in the entire game. And it really doesn't, I don't think it gets that attention. So, there you go. There's Rax gun downsig for you Rax players out there. Now, next up, this one, is certainly an underplayed character, at least from what I've seen, the people I play against. Sir Roland. Now, Sir Roland actually has an absurd signature kit on his sword in general. I couldn't say signature there. I'm gonna drink some water. I can't speak right now. I've been struggling to speak this entire video. Okay, I just got a shower, okay, so my mouth is full of water, that's why. It's full of soap. My mouth is full of soap. So yeah, it's this sword Downstig. And I think if you know, you know. It's one of those kind of sigs. Like, if you know the sig is actually kind of broken, then you know. But if you don't know, it's kind of just, I mean, he's just throwing his sword into the ground. Like, what's the big deal? The big deal is the coverage, both vertical and horizontal, and the safety of it. You are not getting punished if you space this move correctly. Like, you're just not. You're really just not. Because it just doesn't have the recovery time, and it has insane coverage. I mean, you're seeing the height of this, right? Like, for the amount of horizontal distance and vertical distance and low recovery frames that this move has, for it to even be like a possible killing move at all. Like, I can't speak right now. What is going on? It's just crazy. It's so good. It's zoning to a T. Like, this is a zoning sig on sword, which is a weapon that doesn't really need zoning, and it's good. It's good. If you're a Roland player, certainly incorporate this move into your kit. Catch people jumping, catch people slipping, catch people on the edge, catch people coming back to the edge, catch people like this. Actually, probably don't do that. That's a bad decision because it sends up. But yeah, use it. Use it to your heart's content, because if you use it correctly, they're really not going to be able to do much about it. Next up, this move. Now this is interesting because in my video where I talked about the weakest signatures per weapon, this is a sig that some people mentioned that they'd like to, or they thought they would see, which is this Blaster's Downstig on Lucian. Now, I mentioned earlier that these retreating signatures tend to be safer when you don't go back to your original position, and that is certainly the case with this move. But what makes this move super good, it's not just the distance, right? Because it's not the most amount of distance. It's not a huge amount. Like Azoth, Kaya, they tend to have a little bit more coverage. But it's the active frames. This move is active for so long. The smoke will surprise you because look, that is a meaty amount of active frames. And even when the smoke is just fading, it's still there. It's just very good. You often find yourself running into this sig just at the tail end of it, like right there, where you don't expect it to KO, but because of the distance, and Lucian continues to walk back more and more, you see at the end of the signature, he kind of has this extra little jump. So as he gets sent back, yeah, you see it right there. As he gets sent back, it's still active. Very good signature, grounded kill option. Even if it doesn't KO, it's a get off me option that's very good. It can cover a bunch of dodges because of its active frames and huge hitboxes. It's just great. It's a great signature. Lucian players, I think they mostly use this one, but this Downstig, certainly very good move. It's not the type of thing that you're going to see all the time or you're going to use all the time, but for it to be an option like this on the guns, which is a weapon that gets overwhelmed if you get into close range with it, to have a get off me option that's this active, that sends you, a good distance far back, and can KO if it really needs to in the deep red, it's a great option. And certainly underrated. I think Lucian players could probably utilize this a little bit more if you're not already. Or if you are using it, you probably already know that it's fairly good. Fairly good. Okay. Wow, that's already 9, is it? I'm pretty sure that's already 9, so I gotta close this out here. And this one, I definitely want to put in here because it is the Hand of God. Now, this move has been memed on for a very long time. It's kind of funny. It's kind of a little inside jokerino, but all things considered, it's actually pretty good. It's actually pretty good. I mean, getting hit by the fully charged length of it is less likely to happen than like a mid length or a short length. But you're noticing that I'm not even really aiming for this Hydra. I'm not even that close, but it's still hitting because this grab hitbox, like look at this. I grab right here. This is where the fist is. This is where the fist is, okay? And it grabs. The actual suction of this move is so big that you feel like oftentimes you get hit by it when you shouldn't, because the hitbox is actually huge. Like if I overshoot it a little bit, it's still gonna hit. Okay, maybe not there, but there. It's still gonna hit because the suction is very good. And for it to be on gauntlets, like gauntlets when they're ledge trapping you, for example, they have this move that's super good, they have this move that's super good, they have this move that's super good, but you notice you're all in close range for that. With cross, you don't have to be in close range. It's kind of a similar theory to that Lord Vrax move, that Lord Vrax Downstig, except this one you can visually see it coming towards you, so it is a little bit more reactable than the Vrax one. But it also just has more distance because of that suction. It also has an upward hitbox when you suction in. So if you GC it, you can also still hit people from below and from above. Just a great sig. Memed on for sure, but still pretty good. And can cover some dodges, can cover people trying to escape, trying to walk away from you. And even if you miss it, as long as you don't commit too hard, you should be generally pretty okay. Well, the way I like to use it sometimes is catching people's landings. So I can fake going a certain direction. That's probably gonna KO, yeah. So I can fake going like this direction, and I turn around and do that, and it catches them if I time it correctly and don't time it poorly, like I just timed it poorly, like that. So yeah, cross players, I'm sure you know. I guess that's kind of been what I've been talking about a few times. If you play these characters, I feel like you definitely know that their signatures are fairly good. If you don't play against them, you may be underrating their kits a little bit, and some things to watch out for. So there you go, that's the video. Again, I couldn't speak at all today, and I don't know why, but I hope I can speak again tomorrow. And yeah, let me know some sigs that you think okay, never mind, this move's terrible.